to the Music and Memories Podcast with your host, Vince Moreno.
Guitar, wear a cowboy hat. Don't give a damn if you don't like that. Throw me in the back of my beat-up van, spreading my gospel all across this land. If the radio won't play the stuff that kills, you can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will. Don't give a damn what Nashville says. They just pushing that wussy pop mess. Hillbilly singer can't get the time of day. Oh, but who the hell wants it from those old boys anyway? Yeah, they don't care about keeping it real, but you can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will. Come out to the honky tonk tonight. I'll show you what it's like when country's done right. Oh, Waylon and Merle ain't round to show you the deal, but you can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will. Show 'em how it's done. That's the way right there.
Say country died and went straight to hell. Oh, but I'm here to tell you it's alive and well. Yeah, it's still going strong and it's in good hands. Yeah, swinging guitars and ballroom bands. And as long as my playing keeps paying my bills, you can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will. Yeah, come out to the honky tonk tonight, and I'll show you what it's like when country's done right, babe. No, Waylon and Merle ain't round to show you the deal, but you can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will.
Yeah, that old Johnny Paycheck, he sure did keep it real. You can bet your stone cold country loving ass I will. You know I will. There's a handful of us out there still.
Son, that's some country music right there. That's a brand new song right there off of Ray Scott's new EP. You guys got to go download that sucker, and there's plenty more where that came from. How about my new guest here on Music and Memories, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Scott? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Vince.
Awesome, man. Dude, I'm enjoying the new EP that you just put out so much. It's country to the core, man, and it's a breath of fresh air. I just love the production of it. I love... Man, you wrote all the songs on that, is correct?
I did, yeah.
And
all of them actually by myself, except for I Will. Ward was in on that one with me.
Ward Davis is on that too, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote that with you?
He did, yeah.
Man, that song, I got to tell you, I was texting you the other day after I listened to it. I was like, man, it's almost like you crawled into my head. And I Will, and what's the next one? nowhere
Near
near.
done.
Yeah,
Near done, yeah.
I'm like, man, it's like this guy's reading my mail, you know. It's and I remember he texted me back. He said, yeah, a bunch of, you know, all these old guys like us can probably relate to those two songs. And man, it's not so much the old guys, but the country guys, I think.
Well,
you know?
exactly. And man, the response so far, and it's only been out now for 3-4 days, and the response so far on that song, I actually put out a little feeler yesterday just to see what people were liking the most, and it seems like that was, I don't know if it was number one, but there's a certain type of fan that just eats that one up, and there's a lot of people out there. I mean, not only us. Us guys have been doing this for a while that ain't 30 years old and ain't even 40 anymore.
What? Whatever do you mean?
But, it's funny, ageism is a thing. And it's just funny how, Nashville will put you out to pasture just when you start getting good.
It's funny because, in one of your songs you say, you don't drink a wine until it's got a little age on it, and that's so true.
Unless you don't like the cheap, unless you like the cheap stuff.
Yeah, and then what's the other line about, you can't write about pain unless you've lived it, that kind of stuff. And
that's right.
And that's so true. You see all these younger guys out here singing about heartache and whiskey and all this other stuff. It's like, how many bottles of whiskey have you really been through yet, dude?
You can tell it's coming out of my pores, man.
Exactly. Is there a specific song on this EP that's probably your favorite, or that you was your favorite writing, maybe, or something like that? Or
man, it's every one I ever record I love for one reason or another, and it's hard to pick favorites. I think. Bottle of whiskey is one that is a favorite just because I'm pretty proud of the angle on it. I mean, there's they tell you a long time ago, every idea has been written, so you got to figure out a way to say something.
Exactly.
And that one was just unique to me. I thought, all these songs about whiskey, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else about writing drinking songs.
Sure.
But, if not more so, but. I was thinking, man, what would it be like if the whiskey were talking? And so that's where that one started. And I kind of spoke from my own personal experience on that one. I kind of shared a little bit of insight with growing up with my dad, having a drinking issue. Vietnam made him that way. And, so it comes from a real place, and it's unique, and it seems to be, that's another one of those songs out there so far. There's a certain type of person out there. Seems like a lot of guys that are really loving that one the most. And over the years, I've had a lot of guys be fans, and I've never been a writer that took the Nashville route to try to pander to women like they were told to by their their
management,
publishing companies or whoever else,
Right.
So that ends up after a while appealing to the male side of things, and so there might not be a whole lot of, if there's boobs out in the crowd, it's just guys with big ones. You know what I mean? There's
Amen. That's funny.
I just don't want them to flash.
Exactly. No beads getting thrown out there.
That's right.
I noticed that. Is it safe to say, listening to the EP the other day, it was like I was reading the Ray Scott biography. I mean, it really could. It really seemed like you were pouring your last, I don't know, 10, 15, even maybe your whole lifetime into these songs, and it's like reading a book about you, man. I mean, is that safe to say that?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a lot more introspective, probably as a whole project anyway, than most of what's come before it. And that stuff comes subconsciously. I don't sit down and say, hey, well, let's sit down and tell the truth about my deepest, darkest secrets or whatever.
Right.
It's just you get an idea, you're feeling a certain way, and you write it down and you play something along with it and figure it out. But, I've just kind of been known, being an independent for a long time. I knew a long time ago that as an indie, you got to have something. You got to have a water cooler type song or something that people will talk about, and word of mouth will spread and whatever else. So I realized back when, I could write I thought a good country song or something that sounded cool and was about something cool or whatever. But I realized the comic side of things was something that I had a little bit of an ability with, and and I wrote the Gene song and a couple other things.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that did really good for me, man. Sirius XM blew it up, and I sold a few 100,000 copies of it on
that's
iTunes,
great.
and we were off to the races,
Yeah.
And having no promo dollars to do it with, I mean, so we really caught lightning in a bottle with that. The problem with that was that a lot of people came to know me probably a little bit as that guy that wrote the goofy songs. I mean,
there's always a double-edged sword of that kind of stuff.
It is. It really is. I mean, and I grew up on Willie and Waylon and Merle and Don Williams. I mean, I'm extremely influenced by those guys. But I also had a healthy diet of Roger Miller and Jerry Reed and some of these other, and I do the recitational thing. I did that for the first time to kind of set myself apart and realize it was something I could do. But you end up getting kind of categorized or typecast in that. And I do think that's something in the eyes of the industry or whatever as a whole.
Or even just people will kind of single you out too. It's
like, oh, yeah, there's that guy that sings the goofy songs
the
or whatever.
pants song. Or
whatever. About the pants. Yes.
When I was doing my last EP, we were me and my producer Dave Smith were like, let's just write a fun song. Let's not get too deep. Let's just write. So we kind of wrote a little beach song type of thing. And I remember one of my buddies back home, and he was like, "Oh man, shit, not a Kenny Chesney thing, is it?" And he was just like, "I don't want to hear that, man." I'm like, "Hey, it's just a fun little song," but it's like out of all that, I took that to heart most than all the compliments I got. I thought, oh man, he's judging me off of that one song.
That's always what we do too, man. I mean, they could love all of them, and then they say, I don't know about that one. You can be thinking about that all day long.
That's exactly right, man.
It's funny though. I've got a little bit of a twisted sense of humor, and I come up with stuff like that a lot.
Well, I think most entertainers, most singers do have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I mean, you almost have to be in front of people all the time and to take criticism and all that. I mean, most singers, I think, are pretty dang funny if you get to know them,
Well, and the comedy, too, comes from a dark side. And, we've all got that.
Oh, yeah.
We don't like to put it on display too much because we don't want people breaking out the razors trying to...
And you read a lot of stuff like take Robin Williams, for instance. A lot of people say like, oh, the guy who's always the clown, and then he's the most depressed guy that leaves the party. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's where the whiskey comes into play too.
But some of the best stuff comes from folks like that. I mean, I've known a couple of guys over the years that are borderline psychotic, but they're a hell of a songwriter.
They're like genius in that sense. Yeah. Did you come to town as a writer, or were you already living here doing that? Or
I came to town wanting to record my own songs. I wanted to, but I always from day one wanted to be a songwriter first and foremost. Wanted to record my own albums, and I sound like that chick from Coming to America. Then I want to be an actor, and then I want to produce things, and But no, I did. I enjoyed. I just enjoyed singer-songwriters, people who kind of offered you their window to the world. And not only that, but I was always one that liked to write alone, which kind of made me a little bit of a, can we say, pariah here in town. I mean, I don't disagree with co-writing. I actually enjoy it. There's some that I've had a lot of fun with, but I probably write alone more than most people I know here. And part of it is because I lost my driver's license and I couldn't drive to town.
That's funny.
But
well, for the people who are listening, that they probably don't realize, when you come to town and you're trying to write music, what the either publishers, if you get with a publisher, or even if you're just trying to get with a publisher, or just get in with other writers, you got to co-write. You got to get in a room with one or two or three other guys or girls and try and co-write. And sometimes, I mean, it takes so long to find a vibe with somebody, and people don't realize, well, I got to co-write today, and you go sit with somebody and nothing comes out of it, and it's just like, let's just go to lunch.
Co-staring.
Co-staring.
And then you go to a meeting 3 and get so full that you just want to take a nap.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, we'll try it again later, and then you never hear from those people again. I mean, I've been in that situation a bunch of times, and
it's like dating, man.
It really is.
It's exactly like dating. Man.
They ought to have a Tinder for songwriting.
You either mesh,
swipe right. Exactly. Okay, we'll see the next guy. So the next guy in.
But yeah, it's true. I did a lot of co-writing just like that. You come in, you're the new kid. They put you with this guy and that guy, and I had some good experiences with it. I had a handful that were obviously a big waste of time, and and sometimes you go into a meeting with somebody you're excited to write with, maybe, and you've got this great idea, or at least you think it is, and you go in, they like the idea. But them being the senior portion of the writing appointment there, you sort of let them run with it, and then sometimes you leave there with a song that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. And that's just and then you feel like you wasted a good idea. And
that's so true.
So there's a lot of different. I mean, it takes a lot to find that great marriage with another writer where the two of you are going to go in there and you're going to knock out something good every time. And, and that just takes, honestly, it takes doing it.
Yeah.
And it's,
just getting in the trenches and figuring it out.
It's just like anything else, you got to go a few places and know where you don't want to be.
I was talking to a guy. He's just kind of getting started. It's actually Aaron Tippin's son, Tom. He's kind of getting started in the songwriting. He's just, he's writing every day with somebody different, right? And you're trying to get in the groove. And he was like, "Man, I can't write shit right now. I just can't. I'm dry. I can't figure nothing out.
Your brain hurts, man."
Yeah. And I said, "Well, take a little break. You're writing every day. I mean, you can't be creative like that every day. I mean, people who build spaceships don't build one every day. It takes time. Yeah. And he was saying how." He was telling me some stories about how he came in with a great idea, and then it was totally like you were saying. You come out the end of the day like, that's not what I had in mind with that. And I've done that too. You go in there.
Or you have what you think's a great idea, and they shit on it.
Yeah, there's that too. I remember one time I sat down with you remember Kevin Sharp? Yeah. Kevin Sharp, and I won't name the other person because I was really I was stoked. I was like, this guy's a legend, and I was like, and we got on this three-way ride, and nothing I said was sticking to the wall. Nothing I played. I was trying to come up with a melody. I mean, nothing. And finally, he just goes, "Let's go to lunch, guys. I'll buy." I was like, "Oh man," I was heartbroken. I was like, "This sucks." I mean, I didn't think I was that bad.
I've had that happen, and it's funny. You could have two really great writers sitting in a room, but if they don't mesh with one another, they're going to be looking at the wall all day long. That's just part of it, though. That's what leads you to figuring it out. It's like me. I've been married twice, and now the third time around is, So you figure it out. Sometimes it's the hard way,
and sometimes you walk in there and you guys, you'll write a song in 10, 15 minutes. You can't get the words down on paper quick enough. It's crazy.
I love those days.
I love those days too. When you walk out and you go, "Man, that's we can't wait to cut the demo on that thing." But I don't think that the general public realizes how much hard work goes in. Well, especially when you hear shit on the radio today. Oh yeah, you probably think that didn't take much thought to write that stuff down.
They should have wiped after that.
Use some kind of antibacterial stuff. Amen. Do you take a big stance on that kind of stuff? Like, are you just like, "Oh, I'm traditional country and I hate that stuff," or are you just kind of like accepting of it? Like, hey, everything goes through its phases and everything goes through its changes. And there's just nothing you can do about it. But I know some guys are just so they bash that stuff, and.
Well, evolution is inevitable in this business, and the fact is, it's like somebody said about, like, say Florida Georgia Line. Those guys have had a lot of haters over the last few years, but hey, if you're packing out stadiums or whatever else, then it's like they said years ago, or no, John Prine said this about Elvis Presley. He said 100 million Elvis Presley fans can't be all wrong, and it's true, So it's a taste thing, It's all how you grew up, what sounds good to you. I'm not one that wants to sit down and listen to that kind of stuff. Most of what's on the radio now, I don't care for that much. But I know a lot of people do like that stuff. And, the way I've just figured out over the years, there's no sense in bitching about the stuff you don't like. Go after the folks that like what you're doing and serve them. And I figured out who my audience is, and that's just kind of what I try to do. Just keep giving them what they like or what they want. And after a while, sometimes you have to redefine your definition of success.
Right.
You come to town in your early 20s, man, success is the big house and the flashy cars. And
riding on a bus on a tour everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But, after a while, after kind of seeing that for what it really is and being behind the curtain, and kind of, there's guys that I knew coming up that got deals somewhere along the same time that I did that are, out there doing well, still doing well. making millions of dollars, got 150 people employed on the road, things like that. And they're singing songs that they absolutely, sometimes they won't admit it, sometimes they will, but they hate it.
Yeah.
But they're stuck in a spot where, hey, I'm pretty loaded right now. I got a good life as far as that goes. If I decide to change my style right now and go and do like traditional country music like I loved when I got to town, I realize I'm endangering the careers and the well-being and whatever else of everybody working for me. So all of a sudden you've become a corporation, and so that's one thing a guy like me doesn't have to worry about, man. I just go and do exactly what I feel like doing. We can go out and make a little living on the road. And, I tell people that, I ain't laughing all the way to the bank, but I ain't crying all the way to work.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Are you doing a lot of like solo acoustic stuff, or you still got a lot of band dates going on? Or?
I got, here lately I've been doing a lot of acoustic stuff, especially during the winter months. It's just, my songs work out pretty well for the most part in the acoustic environment if folks are paying attention. So I try to be picky about where we play. We do hard ticket sales. So, people will come in and, if they're paying $25 to see an artist, most of the time folks will be quiet and pay attention.
Get off their phones and all that shit.
Yeah. It ain't never foolproof. Somebody's always doing it. But, I do that. And then the full band stuff we do when it makes sense, and I love doing it. But it's one of those things where it's an overhead issue, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And you gotta. I've got my own little record label. I'm self-contained, and I got my monthly nut that I got to make, and so we have to kind of approach these situations, financially, the best way we know how. So.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people see me playing like downtown on Broadway or something, and that I do that because I love to play with the pickers that I get to play with, And
you can make good money down there.
Sure, and there was a while where I was making more than I was on the road with playing with artists and stuff or doing my own thing. Yeah. I would just make more down there and then just drive home drunk, But a lot of people see you down there and they say, oh, the band works for tips. Well, can you come to Ohio for $300? And we bring your band. It's like, no. I can't do that because, like you said, you got a van, you got a trailer, you got equipment, you got gas, you got hotel rooms, you got three to 4 to 5 guys you got to pay for, and it's a big misconception. Like, well, you're coming out of Nashville, well, I'm not a big star, but you still got to pay the bills, and you can't pull all your guys away from a town that they're making money in to go make the same amount of money, but travel 8 hours to do it.
And the great thing is that some people out there get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to explain it to them, though. It's just like the explanation you have to give to people over and over now that, hey, if you don't buy this music, there's a chance this artist ain't going to have a career 2 years from now. If you don't buy this music, the people that wrote these songs are going to have to go and get their real estate license or work at Home Depot because you're killing their career.
Yeah.
When folks, a lot of it is funny, man. Folks out there, it's almost they see you playing music on a stage and having fun. They don't see it as you having a real job like they do,
right?
And they don't realize everything that goes into making that show happen. The 6 or 7 or 8 hours you drove to get there. The like you said, the gas, the hotel room expenses.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of variables there.
And then there's the promotion of it. You got to be on social media every day, and you got to.
Yeah, and these days Facebook won't let you do nothing without paying them.
That's exactly. Boy, let me tell you.
If you want to, you have to do these, territorial posts. When you're playing in certain regions to try to get people out, you're spending. You might spend $20 a day on Facebook trying to make that happen. It's a lot that people don't really understand.
They think we're just out there, man, living the life. Like, oh man. You guys are partying every day, and yeah, and you're doing great. It's like, like you said, it's not like we're filing bankruptcy or anything, but there's a lot of hard work that goes behind it that most people don't realize. But
a lot of us, at this point, especially, and I think you can attest to this, man. We do music because we can't not do it, and but we got to make a living. This is what here I am, 50 years old now, and I just. I've been doing this a while. It ain't like I'm going to be, switching careers anytime soon.
Right.
I can't. I don't make a lot of money now, but I can't go get a job somewhere else and make, what I'm making now. Just at any general place. So you got to do what you got to do to stay alive. I don't have health insurance,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, which most
there's
guys don't.
there's a lot of truths to this that people out there just aren't aware of. But at the end of the day, we enjoy the hell out of what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't know what else I would do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. Certain things, like you say, there's certain benefits that we get to travel the world. We get to see things and hang out with people that, most people would never get to do. Yeah. So they see us living that life on Facebook and all that, and then we come back to the house and it's like, damn, what do we got to do now to get that next gig?
Well, it's funny, my buddy, and I'm sure Eddie Heinzelman,
oh, yeah.
We were responding to a post that Bernie Nelson made, and it was about this very thing for the most part. And I forget who he quoted in it, but basically the quote was, "Go find what you love the most and let it kill you."
Wow.
and that's that's the gist. I mean,
sure.
But
man, you put a lot of perspective into half the questions I was going to ask you you've already covered as far as the business goes and all that. But like you said, obviously we still enjoy. We're not bitching to a certain point because we still love what we do. But there are times where you just want to throw your head against the wall and be like, why in the heck is that other guy getting all this attention and they can't carry my microphone stand?
And what I've had to do, man, is look, I had the major label deal at Warner. I was the toast of the town for a hot minute.
And what year was that?
That was 2005 was when I came out with them.
Okay.
So I mean, I went through all that, and that's good for you and it's bad for you because when you get out with that kind of support, all of a sudden you got the world by the cojones, and then when that deal goes away, man, it's like they're like, well, who the hell is Ray Scott?
Yeah.
And I'm years removed from that now. So I'm living in a town who probably for the most part from a booking agency. Side of things and everything else, these folks, a lot of them consider me irrelevant. Yet, I've just been getting better for the last few years. And so,
Amen.
You know how that is. It sucks to realize, man, I'm just hitting my stride and these folks have put me out to pasture a long time ago. And it's just like the, Nowhere Near Done song, essentially that's what I was saying in that. So I basically have had to. I live in Hendersonville, which is just above Nashville, and about 30 minutes out of town. And I go down to the row once in a blue moon if I have to. I don't do it a lot. I kind of I try to keep my head out of what's going on down there because I don't get major radio airplay, mainstream radio airplay, aside from some independents that have the freedom to do so. And so, I don't consider myself the competition with those folks.
Well, it's almost good to kind of separate yourself, isn't it? Don't you think? Because then you don't you don't have any influence in the back of your mind when you're writing something to write something about a dirt road with a tailgate down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's I've kind of done that too, where I just kind of separated myself, and it's probably better. I mean, for you. I mean, I don't know.
Well, like for instance, I mean, I also don't take into account what passes on radio and what passes the Nashville publisher test as far as lyrically what you can say and what you don't. I mean, I just wrote a song the other day. The first line of the song is "I work harder than an ugly ass stripper." Now, how many publishers gonna let you do that?
Yeah.
But when you get out and play these songs for a live crowd, man, some of those catch lines that I mean,
that's what gets them going.
Yeah, man. I mean, and all the stuff they won't let you say here, that's the shit people want to hear out there,
right?
And so you just kind of keep it in mind. You realize if you keep it as real as possible, that you're always going to have people that appreciate that and that gravitate towards it, and that's. That's what I've luckily been able to do. I think this newest release, I think is further proof of that, if not more proof to me than ever, that if you put it out there and be honest, that folks will respond to it. And so I'm blessed to do this. I'm blessed to that somebody gave me the nuts to take a chance on that.
Well, I mean that. Is it fair to say, that's like me and you consider ourselves honky-tonk singers versus stadium singers? Yeah, I mean, because the material, like you're saying, the kind of stuff that you're writing like that, I mean, it gets the honky-tonk people rowdied up. It gets them, doing what they do. And that's kind of, I mean, did you grow up playing honky tonks, obviously, and
yeah, you know, and
cutting
I
your teeth
also
like that?
grew up seeing my daddy do it.
Oh, really?
And so as a little kid, and I prefer that close connection with people. You know, where if you want to heckle back and forth with somebody sitting 10 feet from you, you can.
Yeah, that's my jam right there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it ain't nothing more fun than to put somebody.
And like when I go out and do these festivals with, when I sideman with these artist guys, and like you or whatever, but you go to these festivals and there's so many people out there. There's 40,000 people out there, and you basically just go out, you're a robot, and you just sing your songs, and everybody screams, and then you run off stage. It's like, man, I don't really feel like there was a connection there, and I mean, it was a gig and it was a paycheck, but it's always so cool to get that one person that's even just sitting there staring at you going, no, listen to every word. That's the best feeling in the world right there to me. I mean,
and afterwards too, I mean, you can hang out at your merch table and people come up and talk to you and
drink with drink with them.
Have a bit, exactly, man. I mean, that's to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, hey, every one of us, if we had the opportunity to make $20 million a year doing this, doing what we love for a living. I don't know anybody who wouldn't take that opportunity. Now, when it comes to, the quote unquote selling your soul to do it, I don't know.
Right.
A lot of that's got to do with age and experience. When you get a little older and you realize what really moves your heart and what really motivates you to keep going. If that's not there, then man, there ain't no sense in running out there. Because I'd be miserable if I was.
See, and that brings up a point for me. I think what year was it? I came to town and did an album with Hal Rugg, who's a pretty famous steel player. He used to play the Opry and stuff. He was playing with me in Tucson. Yeah. He retired back there, and he's like, man, we got to go cut an album on you in Nashville. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I suckered up and got a backer and all this stuff, and he produced it and everything, and we went and cut it. And one of the guys that had written all the songs in there was a pretty heavy hitter, here in Nashville. And I was in there singing in the room, and he's in the room there with he's on the board, and he's got the talk back mic set up, and he's talking to the guy. And the guy's like, who wrote most of the songs. He's like, man, bring this kid in. I want to sign him. Just from hearing me singing that day. Yeah. So I walk in, and the minute he sees that I'm a big Mexican guy, he just kind of, his face just drops. I'm like, apparently he didn't know my last name was Moreno when I went there. But his whole thing was he was going to get me a record deal and get me out there and get me signing all stuff if I sang in Spanish, half in Spanish and English. I'm like, look, man, I don't even speak Spanish. Yeah. And I don't really sing I don't sing in Spanish. You heard me sing in country. That's what impressed you. Why can't I just be a Mexican guy that sings country? So I kind of shot that down because I told them, I said, we already got Rick Trevino and Emilio and Freddie Fender and all these guys. How about just a Mexican guy that sings country? Texas is full of those guys that don't even speak Spanish. And so I shot that down, but I've never regretted it because I thought, man, I would have been miserable. Even if I would have had one single on the radio that was half Spanish and English, I'd have had to done that my whole rest of my life. Not that I have anything against Spanish, but I just don't do that, and I don't know. And then I look back at times like, man, maybe I should have done it. I don't know. I could have had a nicer house, a nicer car, but I don't think so. I think I sleep better at night knowing that I didn't succumb to whatever they wanted. Did when you got your record deal, did they want to change everything about you?
I'll tell you, to Warner's credit, I went in there. They let me record exactly the album I wanted to.
Really?
Okay, well, and I had a top 40 hit that they worked the hell out of called "My Kind of Music." Now they were committed to it. Bill Bennett had just come in as the new head cheese there, and Bill was a great guy. Still talking to Bill every now and again on social media. Paul Worley was there. And, it was just, at the time, it was a good time to be there. I got a pretty quick release. I didn't end up getting held in, captivity like some of them do. Yeah. So all that went pretty well. What happened with me is I'm such, even back then, I'm such a throwback in some respects that, that song, even still 15 years ago, was still one that, to a lot of radio programmers' ears, had an older retro feel to it, and some of them wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
It's so
Plus,
crazy.
there was the whole "Kiss My Ass" line at the end.
Right.
There was, some of the station people told us that they didn't want to play. I name a few old country singers I loved in it too.
Yeah.
The whole name checking thing that everybody's sick of now. But some of the station people were saying, hey, we just don't want to play a song that's going to remind our listeners who we're not playing anymore.
Oh wow.
So we got all these excuses, and so I'll hand it to Warner for hanging in there with me. I mean, they stayed on that thing for over 40 weeks.
Dang.
And we never got past 35 on any chart with it. But what it did was it did kind of help me establish a fan base of people that were out there missing that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it came to the second record, they all knew. They put a couple other singles out for me. It was more of an obligatory thing, though.
All right.
They didn't really go anywhere. I think we hit maybe 48 with one of them, but they didn't really push them the way they pushed the
Sure,
first,
yeah.
age-old story. But when we, they knew that because of the, now based on a top 40 single, though, we sold more records than a couple of artists in town who had number one that year.
Really?
And, you know what the difference in listenership there is on the chart.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, if not a couple million. And so they knew that they had something with me that, we tapped into some success, so they didn't want to give up on it.
Uh-huh.
So we went into recording the second record. Well, at that point, they started bringing me a lot of outside material, a lot of stuff that stylistically was a lot closer to the middle, a lot more contemporary. And man, I've just always been, I can only do one thing, and that's write and sing songs that I wrote for the most part.
Yeah.
I have I've got a delivery, kind of an enunciation and things like that kind of paint me into a corner a little bit like that. And
that's what makes you an artist, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, it does, and it makes me unique, and people know who it is pretty quick, I think. In the mainstream world, especially in the label system, man, the big label system, when you got A&R people and everybody else who've got their own egos, everybody wants to take the credit. Nobody wants to take the blame.
True that.
People were wanting to, to change me a little bit, to make me a little, safer, I guess you could say. And it just, I even tried to record a handful of other songs, and they just, you listen to them, and I didn't sell them.
Well, it's kind of like wearing somebody else's shoes or something. I mean, for you, I mean,
shoes that are way too small,
right?
So we kind of learned the hard way there that wasn't going to work, and then later on, Hendrix came in, took over. New label heads got their people they want to
the business part kicked in.
Yeah. So I got, at that point, I was really ready to get out of there. I'd been asking out probably for a year or so because I was just sick of waiting on them because they were waffling back and forth. So much.
Yeah.
And so he.
So did you sound like a so many album deal, or was it so many years, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, from what I remember, I don't remember the details of that. I want to say it was 5 or something.
Yeah, because I mean, I know every deal's different, so some guys get trapped longer than others.
Yeah, well, I mean, they let me out of it. He dropped me. And I tell people, you probably rarely met a guy that was happier to get dropped from a record label than I was at the time.
You hear that so much. You hear that so much amongst artists.
But after, now the initial shock of it, not too long after that, when you started realizing, oh hell, now nobody wants to mess with me now. All of a sudden your booking agency's turning and looking the other way, and just a lot of stuff. So you realize, well, hell, I'm on my own again. It's just about square one here. But that was still a whole lot better than sitting there waiting indefinitely.
Well, I was just going to ask you, did that set you back emotionally? Or were you, like you say, you were on one hand rejoicing that you weren't with their handcuffs on, but at the same time, you're back at square one? I mean, how'd you handle that?
I was rejoicing to be out of there and be free of having to have, Tracy Gershon making decisions for me.
Mm-hmm. Somebody controlling you.
But yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, so, I was definitely happy to be out of there. I think the initial, that feeling goes away, and then it becomes a feeling of oh shit,
what now?
What am I? I mean, I had a tour the following year. I kind of scraped together little cheapo album I threw together to sell on the road as something new. It was a little record I did called Crazy Like Me that was recorded for almost nothing in my buddy's spare bedroom. You know, and things just sort of, you know, they just fizzle. You know, because folks are moving on to whatever's next. Dude, when you got somebody spending, at the time it was, you know, probably $1.5 million to try to break an artist, you know, they're going to do it the way they see fit to do it. And you don't have a lot of say in it, you know. I was lucky to at least be able to put out an album of songs that they didn't mess with me on. So, you know,
you had that. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Exactly. You know? And you know, so I can't complain, say as much as some artists do that get deals and lose them or whatever. But you know, some of us just aren't really put together to survive in that system or to thrive in that system. And I'm just one of those people. You know, I came to grips with it and terms with it and accepted it years ago. But it did take a while after that to kind of, you know, get back. I mean, it does sink in after a little bit, thinking, you know, you get the feelings of failure along with just that foreboding, oh, God, I got a lot of work to do to kind of get back to that point, or if I ever do get back to that point, because, you know, all of a sudden, you're being played for 1 million people across the nation, and then nothing.
So did that make you? Did it put you like in despair to like, man, I don't even want to touch a damn guitar for a while, or did it make you even want to try even harder to just keep going? You know,
I don't know that it ever put me at a point where I didn't want to touch a guitar. I mean, I think I kind of got mad, and you know, you know, I think, hey, getting pissed off is a good thing sometimes.
Sure,
man. It's if that ain't a motivator, I don't know what is. And you know, I went back. I got a publishing deal. I started having a little bit of success in Europe through just some channels that happened naturally.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
You know, so I was pursuing that. I was making a living. You know, I had one publishing deal. That one went belly up because the money guys took off. You know, never heard that story. Right?
No, I don't know what you mean.
But then I signed with Universal Publishing and was with them for a couple of years. I went through a divorce during that time, so that stymied that whole deal. Although I did get
probably got some good material out of it.
I did, and I got a couple good cuts being there. But you know, look, man, this business and this career, no two people have the same trick. It's really unique to everybody that does it. And you know, I could say that I'd go back and change some things, but you know, I've been able to see good in every situation where I saw bad. So,
well, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. You say you had a few cuts the time you were writing. Is it anybody we know that cut your stuff? Or?
Yeah, man. I had a top 10 with Clay Walker called A Few Questions, and that was one that came from one I had in Tom Collins' catalog before I actually got the Warner deal.
Oh, really? That was back then.
I had a couple of songs recorded by Randy Travis. Pray for the Fish is one that I wrote.
Oh, nice.
And another song called The Gift that was on his Rise and Shine gospel album. While I was at Universal, I had a couple of Trace Atkins cuts. You know, there was one of the songs that was on one of his records. It was also on the soundtrack for the Act of Valor movie.
Oh, yeah.
And another one called Poor Folks that he recorded too. So I mean, I got no top tens after that, but you know, at the same time, I haven't really actively been pitching songs I've written for a long time.
Well, I was going to ask you, is it weird to you when you hear somebody else singing like your stuff, or
it's not weird. It's actually, you know,
I mean, it's accomplishment. You know, man, obviously
it's
every
absolutely flattering. It's validating. You know, that somebody else would love what you wrote so much that they would take the time to record it and try to do a good job of it. Man, that's the biggest compliment in the world. I love doing it. It's funny though. I've never really sat down and tried to write songs for anybody but myself because they just kind of naturally come out that way. That's
kind of why I ask you, because just listen to this new EP. They all these songs just seem so personal. They seem so Ray Scott, so personal about it. And I thought, I don't think those are songs you could have pitched to anybody else. Nobody could deliver that shit.
I know, and I wish, you know, and sometimes I'd like to. I mean, if somebody called me today and said, man, I'd love to record bottle of whiskey or just whatever. I mean, man, get it, man.
Sign right here.
Heck yeah, man, do it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because
here's my bank routing number.
I mean, these days, man. If you're a writer, unless you have a hit on the radio, you ain't gonna make any money.
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the way it is, and that's why writers are. I mean, look, I got a niece who's a really talented, beautiful girl, and I know for a minute, I know she was probably considering. I don't know if she was going to go to Nashville or what she was going to do to get into this. And man, I just I didn't want to be the the Debbie Downer,
the naysayer,
guy or whatever. But God, knowing how hard it was when I got to town compared to how hard it is now. When you're like you and me, and we've been here as long as we have, we see how it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we see how it is now. In the 90s, guys, as songwriters, were making money off of mechanicals, man. I mean, just off of record sales from having an album cut.
Yeah.
These days, all you're getting is performance royalties, and hopefully if you own part of the publishing, that's a nice little piece too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, man, it's peanuts. And if you're lucky enough to get a publishing deal, unless from what I can tell, unless you get a single and have a hit on the radio with somebody, you're probably not going to keep a publishing deal very long either, because you're going into the hole more with them every year you're there. So
yeah.
So I haven't really made an attempt to do that either. We've been self-contained, probably doing my own things with my own label for about the past 5 years. Okay. Pretty solid.
So how long would you say this EP has been in the making? Like, how long did it take you to write these songs, or did you specifically choose these songs for that, or did you have like a catalog of stuff and then you pick these, or did you specifically write these for just this EP? Because the reason I ask is they all flow so good together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I was saying, it's like reading the Ray Scott, Book of Life or something, So
well, it's funny. Most of them, I will say, all kind of came within the same 6-month period.
Wow.
And the EP before it too, kind of the same thing. Now, one of them, the Better As I Go, the first one was written maybe a lot longer ago than the other 5. Not too old, but maybe 3 years ago. At the time, though, I had that one, and I had a song called "Thank You, Baby" that was another sort of ballad that was similar in content to that song that I had on the Honky Tonk Heart EP before this. So, so I knew I couldn't put them both on one record.
Yeah.
But the Better As I Go thing, my whole thought for it from the get-go, from the day I wrote it, I was like, man, this has got to have sort of a modern Don Williams scratch band vibe, and that's,
I love that part about it too. It's so raw, man. It's not overproduced, and
another thing with this too is I played guitar on these things for the most part, and played acoustic, and so that's me with the rhythm part, and it's rough good, and it's raw, but and I'm not that great a player, but every now and again I can hone in on a certain rhythm or whatever, and I think it was important for me to kind of put my stamp on them.
Yeah,
in that way, that one, the bottle of whiskey, Nowhere Near Done. The other ones that are a little more contemporary, I kind of let the majority of that rest with, Tim. Gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
Well,
Galloway, Galloway.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if this is a compliment or not to you, but when I was listening to it, I was thinking it was so raw like that, and it reminded me a lot of the album that Jamie Johnson did a while back. I think it had In Cooler on it, and it was a lot of the same way. It was just, it wasn't like so produced like the regular stuff. It just sounded so raw. And
I'll tell you something funny. A few years back, I was hanging out in the studio, or maybe we were on the bus. I went out to write with Jamie a little bit. We've been friends for a while.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't end up writing because we just stayed probably pretty fucked up the whole time. But
maybe you did write. You just don't remember.
I came up with something worth writing. I don't know. We were having a conversation one day, and he asked me if I played guitar on my recordings, on my records, and I said, up to this point, I haven't. No.
Yeah.
He says, man, you ought to. You ought to play guitar on there. You'd be surprised at how much more it just feels like yourself.
Well,
Because he does, and that's the thing. I mean, James is a good player, man. I mean, he can stand up there and rip off a lead with that old jumbo, any old time. And I'm not a lead player by any stretch of the imagination, but after a while, especially when you write a lot of stuff by yourself, that's another thing in co-writing situations years ago. I used to kind of let it default to the better player in the room as far as the licks and just the feel of it in general. My old buddy Philip Moore was that guy a lot of the times, and he's great. But, we'd end up putting stuff down. I'd let him just do all the playing just because he could, and he could get it done fast and whatever. But you get into a comfort zone when you've got somebody else covering that stuff for you.
Yeah.
And the one thing in the last few years with me, as far as just writing so much by myself, is I realized, man, if I'm going to put this down, I got to do it myself. So. And not that I never wanted to do that, but it just, you fall into a certain routine for a while.
And then you get in the studio, the producers, they have your musicians already set up.
They're just, and it's the guys they like.
It's the staff. And that's why a lot of records sound the same. Most people don't realize that. A lot of records sound the same. You hear the same licks even, or same drum patterns.
People playing.
Yeah, it's the same staff, studio players playing on everything. So,
and even if it's not the same people, they're still going for the same vibe.
Exactly. They're trying to copy that last hit that somebody had. And
well, the last couple of things I did, we're with, you may know Michael Hughes. Michael's a keyboard player as well. I call him the Ginger Avenger. But he's got a studio in his basement in his house. It's where we've made the last 3 projects, including this one.
Oh, really?
And, we've just had guys in, and it's never been all the first call guys. Of course, now I did have James Mitchell doing some stuff. And
James is hot right now.
James
doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's a bad man. But, Michael, kind of, we always just took such a kind of an organic approach to it, man. There wasn't any influence coming out anywhere else. It was just kind of whatever we thought served the song best. And this last time around, I probably took a little more of a front seat to producing it than I did the last time.
Oh, did you? I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, and he, he told me, he said, man, as much as you did with this, we need to call this a 50-50 production thing, and he, he came to me with that. It's just that I think what happens is the longer you do this, the more you know what you want to hear.
Right.
When you record something and you like it this way, you remember that.
Yeah.
And so you're informed next time going in. Okay, this is what I want to do here and here and here, and then.
Well, you build your confidence over the years too about it, because first you go like, should I say anything or? I really want it to sound this way, but you got the big dog sitting there,
Well, and with him, it's like he's always been open to whatever. And if we tried something that was my idea and it didn't work, then it was like, okay, I'm wrong.
But usually, yourself though. If you let's go ahead and do this, and you go, that's not going to work.
Okay,
so, but at least I had to try it just to hear it.
But it's funny. Michael's been looking at some of the internet comments on it and stuff, so he's having fun with it because I mean, this is we did it cheaply. I mean, Michael's a talented guy, but he's not one of the in-demand producers right now. I think he's got the ability to be that guy someday. But, you never know how the chips are going to fall in that respect. But there are a lot of super talented guys in this town that are just as good as the next guy. And, we go in there with a pretty tight budget, and we're able to kind of accomplish what we can sound wise. I think it sounds good. If I listen to something that they just recorded at at Blackbird, then it might be sonically a little different. But
I love the fact that it's not so polished and compressed and just so robotic. Man, I'm a huge fan of this EP, dude. I mean, the minute I heard it, I was like, dude, we gotta talk about this thing on, do a podcast or something, share it with everybody. I mean, not that my 4 listeners will, but you know what I mean.
Hey, man.
But I'm digging it, and I'm hoping that everybody else will get out there and download it. Where can they find this thing on pretty much every streaming?
Yeah, Spotify. It's out there on all these things. iTunes.
Apple and all that stuff.
Apple Music, all that stuff. And if anybody wants, I'm not sure if it's available on Amazon yet or anything, but I know that if you want a hard copy, you can go to rayscott.com and order it, and we'll sure as hell
that was
send
my next
you one.
question. Yeah, so rayscott.com.
Yeah, and rayscott.com. Instagram is rayscott music, at Reality Check on Twitter, and the official Ray Scott page on Facebook. We've also got a Friends of Ray Scott page that somebody else runs, and we have a lot of kind of fan interaction on. But
Cool.
Yeah, anywhere in any of those places, anybody would love to. I'd love to talk to you. And trust me, if you get a response, it is me. If it's not me, they always say who it is. But
See, and most people, they don't realize that a lot of the bigger artists have people run those for them.
Yeah, and they don't have time to,
they just
to
don't
answer
have time.
everybody, and I get that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's like Aaron Tippin. He's like, I don't know how the hell to do that shit. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that
Well,
stuff.
that's a generational thing too.
It
you know.
is,
I mean,
very.
Aaron's older than we are. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, what is he, like 107?
Yeah,
now?
it's about 162 now. Still kicking.
And he can still kick my ass, man. That guy,
He's
man.
pretty tough, man. But
We could both sit on him, and he can still do 100 push-ups. I
well,
guarantee you.
we could probably both out drink him. I'll tell you that. He
Yeah.
sticks to wine, so
Well,
we
we-
got him covered on that one.
Yeah, we win.
But yeah, everybody go down and go to rayscott.com, or you can find your tour dates on the website too, right?
Yeah,
Come out,
we're
see you
always
live.
adding new ones too. So yeah, check it out. I'd love to see y'all out at a live show. I promise you a good time.
Hell yeah.
If you don't like the show, well, never mind.
If you don't like my kind of music.
Yeah, exactly. You know the rest.
What's a good song to end this thing on? I know we already played "I Will" because that's a hell of an opener for this thing. What do you want to end this thing with? Let's play some more Ray Scott music to take this home with.
Man, I'd say let's do the title track.
Okay. Well, coming
Nowhere
up right
Near
here.
Done.
Nowhere Near Done, guys. That's probably my favorite song on there too. But I don't know, man. Wander is just that's a kicking tune, man. Wander is
it's
great.
that groove, you know.
It
that
is.
Groove, yeah.
It's got a groove to it, man. You just go.
I love that kind of thing, man. That straight eight, well, just, you remember hearing like Every Breath You Take. I mean, there's been so many takes on that feel over
Sure.
the years, but yeah.
Well, man, Ray Scott, thanks for sitting down with me here on another episode of Music and Memories with your host here, Vince Moreno. You guys get out there on SoundCloud, iTunes, all the other streaming things where you can find podcasts, and share this thing. You guys spread the word about Ray Scott music, and you guys go get you this EP. You're going to really enjoy it if you like honky tonk country music. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are starving for some country music, and this EP right here will quench your thirst. All right, here's Nowhere Near Done, y'all.
This town wrote me off a long time ago. Said it's a game for the young. And 40 was old. These lines on my face, this gray in my head, says I've learned a few things that you don't know yet. I rolled down this road for a good stretch of miles. Hey, I know who I am. I've known for a while. There's a song that I'll sing someday that'll be my last one. I ain't nowhere near done. You don't drink the wine until the age is set in, unless you don't like stuff, my friend. You can't appreciate a life ain't been touched by some pain, and that pain comes with time. There ain't no other way. Yeah, I've rolled down this road for a good stretch of miles. Hey, I know who I am. I've known for a while. There's a song that I'll sing someday that'll be my last one. I ain't nowhere near done. No,
Thanks for joining us for the latest installment of Music and Memories with your host, Vince Moreno. Visit vincemoreno.net for show dates, music, and more.